Welcome to the big show.
He could go all the way. Oh, America! Are you serious? It is showtime, baby. Here we go. Grand Jam Slam. Hey, it's awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
I'm Terry Mitchell, and this is Coach Butch Cassidy, and we're proud to start a new year of promoting basketball for Sand Mountain area and DeKalb County. We are really old people who love basketball. It's not true that the basketballs had webbing in them when we coached, but it was almost true.
Although we did play on outdoor courts.
We did. They were. When I was in 7th grade, played Big Cove Junior High School on the outside. Most of you don't know us, just like you get to talking to people outside, that are in 7th grade who think they're 35 years old, and they have no idea. Every time I go to a gym, the coaches will try to introduce you. So for all those people, Butch and I didn't write up a resume to make us look good, and I could have let him read one, and I could act like I was embarrassed about the successes and so forth, but we didn't do that because we're very lazy people, and we didn't want to. But I coached. I was at Plainview for 34 great years. Unfortunately, I was there 38 years, which meant that about 4 years of it was not any good. But I coached basketball, started out at Flat Rock and coached 2 years and won the county in football. And only time 2 years I ever had a football team. So started out there, and it came to Plainview when I was 24 years old. About the same time Coach Cassidy went to Fort Payne. And that's when we really became friends. We was at Henniger, so we've been friends for 45 years. And I don't know how, because we don't agree on anything, from defenses to politics to some religious statements, but we've always remained close friends. And so we were talking about how OCD we used to be about making out practice schedules and getting everything ready. And it comes to this, and we haven't done a thing. We're completely unprepared, but we might try to do better as the year goes along. But I stayed at Plainview and coached for 26 years, and then got out of coaching for 3 years, and then coached at Fife for a couple of years and had a great time with those kids. Came back to Plainview for 4, and then coached 3 years at Butler, a year at Scottsboro. So I got hooked on basketball as a real small kid, and I'll tell you all that story one of these days when we have some filler in. But in the 3rd grade, they let us play a game where we had different colored T-shirts, and my first cousin, my chief competitor, team beat us 3-2. He scored 3 and I scored 2, and he still talks about it today. We're 67 years old. But let me let Butch tell you a little bit about who he is.
Well, I started coaching at Henniger Junior High, probably the best place I've ever coached. No pressure to win, but I always had real great athletes up there. And any of you that know anything about the history of DeKalb County basketball know that Henniger always had good junior high teams, and enjoy that. Of course, I just had to be a high school coach. I thought my life would not be complete if I didn't move up in high school. So I took the job at Fort Payne. Stayed at Fort Payne 3 years. had a pretty good team last year I was there, and moved on to Pisgah, and which was a great place to coach. Coach Mitchell is from Pisgah. He knows the history of the school up there, and Jerry Jeffrey was principal, and Jerry gave me an opportunity to go there and coach, and I stayed up there 17 years. Coached boys and girls while I was up there, and fortunately had some success with the girls, and a little success with the boys, but not as great. Coach Mitchell was telling you that we weren't very prepared. I told him if we had prepared for a game like we prepared for this, we'd got fired quicker than we really did. Mm-hmm. Of course, we both got fired, but at least it was later on in our careers.
I felt good about getting fired, though. They said, everything they brought up and said, well, you're doing this. I meant to do that.
Well, when I got fired, it opened up an opportunity to go to Pisgah.
Yeah.
So
you never know.
And I told one of I probably shouldn't tell this, but I played golf with one of the board members from Fort Payne one day, and he apologized to me for the way he said they treated me. And I told him, I said, it's the greatest thing ever happened to me. And he said, well, how do you figure that? And I said, well, if I had not got fired and got the job at Pisgah, I never would have been able to coach 2 state championship teams. So everything works out for the best most of the time.
It seems like the good Lord doesn't answer prayers sometimes, and it's a great thing.
Yeah.
And I tell them all the time, if the good Lord answered all my prayers, I'd be married to Linda Overstreet, because I was in love with her in the 6th grade. She is red-haired and freckle-faced. Whew, bet she's ugly now. But why we're doing this show is to, and if we're not doing it this way, I want you to call in and ask for Monk Blevins at Mountain Valley News.
Yeah, Monk is in charge of producing this show, directing it. So anything that happens is his fault.
We're doing this to promote our kids playing basketball, and throughout the year we're going to try to learn our kids, and that's to push it forward and get it better is the things that we're trying to do, and that's why we are. I told Coach Cassidy before, I'm going to call you Butch. You can call me Terry. Okay. You can tell how much we've worked on this. And if you think, why he should take his cap off, well, he would if these lights were not blinding him. And also,
plus the reflection off the top of his head
that would blind Monk. I'm gonna wear a cap of a business in Rainsville every week, and then like if David Henderson gives me a kickback of some sort for wearing this bank cap, I'll wear it again. Or Jamie Jones, or Nick, every which one. So every who pays me most, where I'm gonna get because Monk pays nothing, I can tell you. Now let me tell you a story about the producer. He was, of course, one of my players when I coached junior football, and I liked football, but didn't know a thing about it. But my teams always won because I had great big guys and they'd knock your brains out. And we had this. When Monk was, he was my wing back, and that's back when you ran the I with a wing, and you just pound this ball in and pound it and sucker all the linebackers in, and then you run this wing back around, and it had to have some speed there. Now, it was kind of embarrassing because we'd score about every time we ran it, and Mickey Willingham was a wing back, and Monk was wing back, and Mickey was who made All-State, by the way, 3 times after that. But as in junior high, Mickey was not the fastest kid we had, so every time I'd let him block and block and block, and then we'd run wing back around. I'd put Monk in to do the yardage. And finally, after about 4 or 5 games, Mickey came over to me one day and he said, Coach, he said, I bet you don't know this, but every time we run wing back around, Monk's in the game and I'm not. And I said, well, I swear, Mickey. And so he was fascinated that I had forgotten that, but I didn't want to tell him. Let's start a little of the basketball. I've talked to a few coaches, and you've talked to several. Just let me give you a rundown of our coaches, and we want to talk to them individually. Let me give you my email address, which is rebound, REBOUND, at farmerstail.com. Rebound at farmerstail.com. If you got any ideas, or any of the coaches particularly want to send us some information you'd like for us to get across, please send that, and I'll try to do it. But go ahead, Coach.
I talked to several coaches at Jackson County, and if you've ever been around a coach, you know that they give you the coach speak.
Mm-hmm.
They really don't want to open up and tell you a whole lot because they're afraid. And I explained to them that we're both ex-coaches. We're not going to throw them under the bus. And so they sort of opened up after that. And if the coaches will contact Terry, we can get a lot of publicity for your kids out there. And I think that's what this show is going to be about, is trying to promote each team in DeKalb County. And we're not going to try to promote one team over another team or one coach over another coach. We want to do what's best for basketball. And I've got an announcement to make before we go any further.
Okay. We have a sponsor.
We're
going to get money?
We got Twin City as our sponsor this year. That doesn't mean we're getting paid anything, but Monk makes some money.
Bobby had better.
I've got two former players that have been inducted to the Jackson County Hall of Fame, and I want to recognize them: Robin Gant Shirey and Pam Hicks Campbell. Both of them played for me. Both of them played on state championship teams, and both are very deserving. And actually, I think in the years to come, I'll have some more players
off that
team that'll go into the Hall of Fame. So I want to congratulate those two young ladies. I still call them girls. They're they're a little bit older now, but I still call them girls. They're still my girls, and so I just want to congratulate them for being inducted to the Jackson County Hall of Fame. And I think that's going to be on January 15th.
January 15th. We need to remember too that I think there were some folks last year I would have liked to have seen. Butch and I, being such good friends, his mom and dad, on games we were not playing during those years, I would always carry Butch's mom and dad to the game. And his dad started working for Southern Mountain Electric Co-op when it first started. So he would explain from here to Birmingham every electrical line there was. And he always ended his sentences with, "Don't you know?" And I said, "No, sir, I don't." But one of my favorite stories, he's like Butch's dad's like the kindest, and his mom, sweetest people that ever lived. And one day, Butch had gotten beaten, and his dad was waiting down at the stage and came out. And of course, you as another coach, somebody, when you get beat, you just don't talk to coaches. Leave them alone. And his dad came up to him and said, "Butch, I know how you can start winning these games." And he said, "How, Dad?" And he said, Mr. Claude said, "Tell those boys to start making those free pitches." And I thought, has Butch been telling them not to? But it's not that simple. And what Coach Cassidy was talking about, we're certainly not going to throw a coach under the bus. Let me tell you, one of the things I wanted to talk to today was to talk to parents. I know each one of you. I watched at Plainview the best player that was ever there not get to play very much as a senior. Best player ever there. And it had to be coaching because it was, my daughter was the best player I ever saw because I loved her. And Al McGuire, the great coach at Marquette, had a player come in and tell Coach McGuire, he said, "Coach said, Allie, who was Coach McGuire's son, plays more than I do, and I'm as good as Allie." And Coach McGuire told him, said, "You're right, you are as good as Allie, and I like you a lot, but I love Allie, he is my son." Now, coaches generally, and I think McGuire was doing that for the humor in it, but coaches are going to play the people they think they can win with then. Now, coaches make mistakes. I can remember, Coach, we were keeping stats in scrimmage every day and for about a week, and I had this B team player that was coming out highest on stats, and I told Coach Cunningham, I said, well, who keeps coming out highest on stats? And Coach finally told me, said, that's because he's one of the best ones you got. He should be on the varsity. And I just didn't see it, but he wound up starting all year. And coaches do make mistakes. But let me tell you something.
Let me tell you, where you look like you make a mistake. I've had these, and you have too, where kids, you put them in a game when the game's determined, and they'll just hit everything.
Oh yeah, no pressure.
No pressure.
No pressure.
And then the fans are sitting up there saying,
that coach
"Why is
crazy.
he not playing that guy?"
Ooh, got a nasty letter from my daddy one time. Up about 30, put his kid in, hit 4 straight. Oh my goodness. You're just over there thinking, I wish he hadn't made that. But let me tell the parents something. It's until you get out of coaching and have a view back into it, you realize the amount of hours that your coach is putting into it. Now, I'm really proud to say that I've seen some of our schools in DeKalb, and I don't really know, I'm not that close to all the Jackson County schools, but in DeKalb, I see that we are starting to get coaches for each team a lot of times with a supervising head coach. It wasn't always like that. I remember I had a principal get on to me one time because I didn't have many assistants, and I said, that's because you hadn't hired any assistants. And so you have to, if you're going to have some interest in your players, you got to get good people. And I talked to a friend who has children playing, and he was talking about they had a young coach, and I told him, I said, look, I said, this guy is serious. This coach is going to be okay, and it's not all that bad to think you know everything, but I happen to know this guy, and he is constantly studying about the game, and coaches have to do that, and it has to be a labor of love. I don't think people have any idea how low the pay is in DeKalb and Jackson County. I have been, since I've been retired, been connected with other schools and talked to them about, and I am just amazed how our coaches here in DeKalb County work 12 months a year, and they get paid for 9, and then they get a small supplement which doesn't pay their gasoline. And but these coaches in these city, because I guess the tax revenue or something, or got more money or something, I don't know what it is, but you know, they get paid for those 12 months, and they we need to be constantly aware. And then people say, well, you put too much emphasis on athletics, and the Beta Club sponsor, who I'm not cutting Beta Club, just I was in Beta Club, and I was on probation from the time I got there till I left. And but there are a lot of things, but you know, if you look at Alabama and say they pay Coach Saban too much, and then turn around and look how much money he has caused the university to make. Mm-hmm. So much of our pride is involved, and you know, if of course nothing is left up to me. If left up to me, I'd pay the football coach's percentage of the gate. Then I'd pay the basketball coaches a percentage of the gate. They've got good teams and they're drawing good. They get paid a bunch, and if they're terrible, they don't get paid a bunch, so that'll make them work and get better. And so parents, email me if you don't like that.
Terry's probably just like I was. When you started out coaching, you probably spent more on the kids than your supplement was.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
You know, when I was at Henniger, every night that we had a ball game, I had to go pick up some kids, get them to the ball game, take them home after the ball game, and of course,
Buy them something to eat.
buy them something to eat. And if a kid didn't have enough money to buy tennis shoes, you weren't going to let them go without them. You had to buy them for them, and probably illegal, but we did it. And but you know, by the way, just talk about Alabama. Monk made me put this shirt on. I'm not. This is not an Auburn shirt. This is. I lost a bet, so I had to put this on, I guess. But Terry's right. We don't pay coaches. Coach Anderson is an example of that. He was at Fort Payne doing a tremendous job. What's he do? He leaves and goes to Madison or Hazel Green. Simply because at Fort Payne he was having 6 classes of PE with 60 in it. Over there he's got about 2 classes, and then planning period, and then basketball. Makes probably twice the supplement that he made at Fort Payne, and that's another example. You're talking about the city systems can pay more, but if you're going to get a good coach, football, basketball, whatever, you're going to have to pay him to get him to stay here, and it's just that simple because they've got to make a living. They've got families. They got to do what's best for their families. So you might want to think about that next time you gripe about that coach making a $2,000 supplement for the year.
What I love is these Pee-wee coaches that literally do it, you know, just to help, and it's usually not the guy that wanted to coach them; it was the guy that would coach them.
Yeah.
And then that they come to the game. I can remember the Pee-wees are. We've already had some junior high tip-off tournaments, and I know Fife had won one of the. I think they won the boys tournament here in the county. Coach Thrash Neal, and I think they won the girls too. But I'm sorry, I didn't research that. But basketball has started, and it's the middle of the summer, and I think we may have to cancel basketball because there won't be any water to flush any of the commodes in the gym if things don't change pretty good. Well, they wanted us to do 30 minutes, but Butch and I have told you everything we know, and so we're probably going to have to just quit. But no, let me tell you some dates that you need to remember. Sand Mountain Tournament this year will be at the Civic Center in Rainsville, and it's from December 17th until Friday the 23rd. And that's one of our favorite tournaments of the year. You really get a kind of get a grip. I thought last year Plainview had its all-time winningest season, and they got beaten in the Sand Mountain Tournament like it was horrible. And let me tell you something up front. I was at Plainview 38 years, and I'll try to be as impartial as possible, but and I am a Plainview fan, and I'm sure you'll see that pull out, but I'm also a fan of these others. I think Plainview's probably going to be the favorite, and I looked at their schedule the other day, and they won't set any records, I don't believe, for school wins this year. They really play at minimum a 5A schedule, and you know there's some 6A schools that didn't play. I know, and I told Coach last year I was over there. I tried to play at least 4 4A teams, which was just one, and I played one 5A team, and I think that helps you if you have kids that are willing to accept the challenge, and boy, I think he does. The Camp County tournament is January 14th. Runs a full week. I think it takes 7 days to complete that tournament. And then the areas start February the 6th. Sub-states are the 13th and 14th of February. Regional tournament at Jacksonville is the week of the 16th through 23rd. If you look on your calendars, that's kind of they play around Jacksonville's schedule a little bit on some of that stuff. So I think that starts like in the middle of the week. And then the state tournament's a little later this year, thank goodness. And it goes from the 27th to March 4th.
Do we want to just go ahead and put some pressure on coaches and say who
Yeah, let's
needs to
do.
be that?
Let's do.
I told Robbie earlier in the summer, I talked to him, and I told him the only way he could mess this up if he couldn't get him to the bus on time.
I loved it. Y'all, people always find it fascinating that coaches are friends, but of course, Cale Black, coach at Geraldine, who's been down there a pretty good while now. I forget how old we are, but Cale and I worked together for several years, and thank the world that he and his family love his girls a lot more than I do him. But Cale, in his spare times, because you don't get paid anything coaching, he wires houses. He's an electrician, and he was working wiring Coach Coker's house this summer, and got a great, I swear I thought it was, I didn't know what it was, but everybody tells us it was a bobcat that just come wandering out of the woods while those two were in there, and they're hollering at the bobcat, and they get it on video. And I said, last thing I'll be doing is hollering at that thing, trying to make it mad and come over there and claw my eyes out. But it was the fattest one I've ever seen. But Cale, his comment that day about basketball was the only thing that screwed Plainview up was Robbie. So you need a good friend. Of course, Robbie got a lot of his training from Cale, so Cale wound up having to take part of that. But I think
Cale graduated a little bit before I went to Crossville, but I watched him play.
Oh my goodness!
Woo, you talk about somebody can shoot the ball.
Mm-hmm. He beat us one night, falling into the bleachers. It's a wonder I even speak to him. He played on a team that literally had 4 others that couldn't shoot. Now Cale still holds a bunch of records for the 3-point, but the other 4 that couldn't shoot knew not to shoot, and they just let Cale shoot. And he was talking about his high school coach, how much he loved him. I said, Cale, I'd love a coach too if he let me shoot every time I came down the floor. But he was really a really good player, and he's probably a better coach. But looking at the favorites from just talking with coaches, who have you heard?
Well, Coach Pruitt, I talked to Coach Pruitt over at section, and of course I talked to North Sand Mountain and Pisgah, and the boys coming out of Jackson County, it's got to be section. I think they were 26-6 last year, and he said he's only had 1 starter back, but he's 6'7". So I mean that's a pretty good place to start, and he has 4 that played a lot. And of course, Coach Pruitt was trying to downplay this a little bit, and I don't blame him about the expectations being too high for him and everything. But Gene Roberts is the principal at section, and Gene played ball for me at Pisgah.
Gene, the rebounding machine,
yeah,
is what
Gene.
we called him in school.
I sat down and talked to Gene a little while, and Gene doesn't know all this coach talk stuff, so I said, what's section going to be like? He said, really good. Really good this year.
You always love your principal. We'll throw you out there like that.
So Coach Pruitt, Gene's put a little expectations on you. And the girls, of course, it's always going in Jackson County, probably come down to Pisgah. But talked to Coach Allison, and he's got 2 starters returning. He said it's going to be a rebuilding year, and I said, no, really a reloading year for Pisgah. But his best player's hurt. Little Hughes.
Yeah, how bad is that?
They did surgery on her, and she's still wearing a boot. So he doesn't know how it's going to turn out. And Monk's giving me a time to cut it off. So.
Well, we will have a lot more to talk about next week, and Coach and I maybe we'll be a little more relaxed and not so nervous. So we appreciate you watching, and if you got any ideas, email me at rebound@farmerstail.com.
If you got any complaints, call Terry.
that do it?
On a dark desert highway, cool wind in my hair, warm smell of colitas rising up through the air. Up ahead in the distance, I saw a shimmering light. My head grew heavy and my sight grew dim. I had to stop for the night. There she stood in the doorway. I heard the mission